Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. Today, we're revising Inspector Calls by JB Priestley with my Act 1 quiz. Before we get going, don't forget to like and subscribe. There are plenty of things on the channel to help you revise an Inspector Calls. Okay, my Act 1 quiz. You can play along for fun or you can make notes as we go along. Question number 1. In the stage notes, which character is described as rather cold? Is it A, Mrs. Burling? Is it B, Burling? Or is it C, Sheila? Question number 2. What does Mr. Burling ask Edna, their parlour maid, to give them in Act 1? Is it champagne? Is it cigars? Or is it port? Question number 3. Who does Burling wish had been able to attend the celebration? Is it A, Colonel Roberts? Is it B, Sir Croft and Lady Croft? Or is it C, the Lord Mayor? Question number 4. When he should be talking about love, Burling speaks about A, lower pay, higher profits. B, higher prices, lower pay. Or is it C, lower costs, higher prices? Question number 5. In Act 1, before the inspector arrives, what does Mr. Burling say we are not? Is it A, we are not bees in a hive? Or is it B, we are not intertwined? Question number 6. When the inspector arrives, the lighting changes and is hard and bright. What colour lit the room before his arrival? Is it A, yellow? Is it B, green? Or is it C, pink? Question number 7. What game doesn't the inspector play? Is it A, cards? Is it B, golf? Or is it C, chess? Question number 8. Mr. Burling is spoken to by the inspector about Eva Smith. What does he call her? Is it A, a wretched girl? Is it B, that he refers to her as girls of that class? Or is it C, that child? Question number 9 now. Who does the inspector investigate after speaking to Mr. Burling? He speaks to Mr. Burling first about Eva Smith. Who is it that he speaks to directly afterwards about their involvement in her death? Is it A, Mrs. Burling? Is it B, Sheila? Or is it C, Gerald? And question number 10. What does Sheila do when she sees the picture of Eva Smith in Act 1? A, she doesn't seem to care. B, she cries. C, she pretends not to recognise her. Okay, those are the questions from my Act 1 quiz. We're now going to review the answers and add some analysis to each one. So, which character is described as rather cold in the stage notes? It's Mrs. Burling, and that's quite interesting because even though she is an upper middle class woman and very wealthy and privileged, she is not happy. She's a rather cold woman and her husband's social superior. That's the quote from the stage notes. Also interesting to note that all three of them and Eric and Gerald also are said to be rather pleased with themselves. So this is a quite privileged family enjoying a celebration together. Number 2, what does Mr. Burling ask Edna to give them? Well, she's replaced champagne glasses with port glasses and cigars. And the first line of the play is giving us the port, Edna, that's right. So it's a working class girl, Edna, serving them and giving them port, which is a symbol of aspiration and wealth. And the first line of the play, giving us the port, Edna, that's right, shows that he doesn't really treat her with a lot of respect. He's not very thankful. He just instructs her to serve them. Number 3, who does Burling wish had been able to attend the celebrations? Well, he knows Colonel Roberts from the police station. He was the Lord Mayor, and he says that it's Sir Croft and Lady Croft, Gerald's parents, that he wishes had been able to attend. He says it's a pity Sir Croft and Lady Croft can't be with us, and it shows that he's really careful to say the right things. There's pauses there as he thinks about how to address them because he's got reverence for them and treats them with the utmost respect because they are higher than he is in the social hierarchy. Very contrasting to the way that he speaks to Edna. Question number 4, when he should be talking about love, Burling speaks about what? Well, he's making a speech here about the engagement between Gerald and Sheila. He speaks about lower costs, higher prices if the Burlings and the Crofts start working together. That will obviously mean that they're able to pay lower pay and gain higher profits. They'll be able to charge higher prices. But it's lower costs and higher prices that he references in his speech. Number 5, in Act 1, before the inspector arrives, what does Mr. Burling say we are not? Well, he says we're not all mixed up together like bees in a hive, community and all that nonsense. It's later on that intertwined is used by the inspector who says that we are all intertwined. Question number 6. When the inspector arrives, the lighting changes and is hard and bright. What colour lit the room before his arrival? Well, it's said in the stage notes at the beginning that the lighting is pink and intimate. So C is the correct answer. The lighting is pink and intimate, and it becomes harder and brighter when the inspector arrives to signify that change in tone. Which game doesn't the inspector play? The answer is B, golf. Mr. Burling says, I should warn you that he plays golf with Colonel Roberts, who's the chief inspector. But the inspector who has called says, I don't play golf. What does Mr. Burling call Eva Smith? He calls her a wretched girl, and that makes her seem childish, infantilises her, makes the idea that she's taken her own life seem like it's an impetulant and childish thing. And the fact that he calls her wretched makes her seem somewhat monstrous. Girls of that class is what is said by Mrs. Burling later on, and that child is what she calls Sheila, Mrs. Burling. So the other two are Mrs. Burling quotes. Mr. Burling calls her a wretched child. Question number 9 now. Who does the inspector investigate after speaking to Mr. Burling? The person he speaks to directly afterwards is Sheila. He then speaks to Gerald, and then after speaking to Gerald, he'll speak to Mrs. Burling. Eric is the last character that he speaks to in the play. And question number 10. What does Sheila do when she sees the picture of Eva Smith? Well, she does seem to care. It's a very different response to that of her parents. Mr. Burling is the one who doesn't seem to care, and he doesn't seem to take any responsibility for his actions. He thinks he's done exactly as he's entitled to as an employer in sacking her, so he doesn't seem to care. She does seem to recognise the girl immediately. It's Mrs. Burling that pretends not to recognise her. Later on, she'll be shown a photo of Eva Smith, and she pretends not to recognise her, even though it's obvious that she does. Sheila is the one who interjects and says it's no use in pretending. Sheila actually cries. She gives a half-stifled sob when she sees the photo. So her response is very different to her parents, and she takes responsibility and feels dreadful for what she's done. That makes her very different to her parents, who don't seem to take any responsibility for their actions. So we've got a very interesting contrast between the younger characters in the play and the older characters being made in Act 1. Okay, check out the other videos on my channel. I'll continue to add content, and feel free to ask something you'd like to see me cover in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and keep revising. Have a look at the playlist. There are plenty of other things on the channel to help you revise and inspect calls. There are guides to each of the acts. There are guides to help you to understand all of those key moments, key events, themes and characters, as well as my guide to learning key quotes. Check out my video, 25 key quotes to learn without looking, and that will help you to understand and be able to revise and recall key moments to help you in the exam.